Good morning, everyone. As you said, my name is Promise Miller. I am 15, and I am currently a sophomore in high school. And I have been given this amazing privilege to share with you briefly my testimony. And it really is such a privilege because it really is a blessing. I grew up in what I like to call the typical Christian family. Every family possesses flaws, but I liked to think mine was close to perfection at the time. I had loving parents, relatively strict rules and boundaries, two younger brothers, and there was always a little critter running around. And I think just the simplicity of that really was one of my biggest treasures. Now, my story isn't necessarily like an episode of tragedy. It was more drawn out and more complicated, and it basically started when I was 9, and my dad was deployed to Iraq, and that was in my third home in San Clemente. He did return safely, and from there we moved to Guam, and I think that's where things really did begin to fall apart. And although I don't remember most of our 3-year station there purposefully, there are some things that just stick with you forever. And in my 6th grade year, about a week before school ended, my parents sat my brothers and I down to talk, and they proceeded to tell us that they didn't love each other anymore and that they were going to separate. And I cannot express enough the shock that we were overwhelmed with. This was absolutely impossible. This was completely out of the question. They had looked me in the eyes and they had promised me that would never happen. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. I remember after that feeling a lack of support from my parents. I remember feeling too responsible for my age and having to take an involuntary parental role for my brothers. These 3 years were the most terrifying years I never imagined I would experience. I remember almost vomiting with fear during that time and feeling betrayed by my parents. The people I trusted the most opened up a door inside of me that really changed absolutely everything about me. I was confused. I was hurt. I did not know what to do with myself. And from then, things really only got worse. During the summer before my freshman year in New Jersey, my mom left, and she came here to establish a life for my brothers and I. And the plan was that she was going to get a job and get a home, and then my brothers and I would move out here with her while my dad stayed another year in New Jersey. And within that year, my freshman year, my parents officially divorced, and I developed a deep, deep depression. I developed an addiction to self-harm, and I had multiple aborted attempts at suicide. My primary identity was my family, and when that was gone, I didn't know who I was. I started caring less and less about myself, and I started making almost every destructive and reckless decision you could make, and these decisions ended up altering me forever. Now, notice how little I have mentioned God, and the reason behind that is that I basically was ignoring him. I thought that I had messed up too bad for him to forgive me. I figured, I don't deserve this. Why would he even care? So I basically just covered my ears and pretended he wasn't listening. But it came to a point where I was so broken and I was so lost that I just cried out for God to hold me. And within that second, he did, and he held me. And he reassured me that everything was going to be okay and that he had never left me. And he just gave me the love that I craved, and it was undying, unconditional, trustworthy love. And when my world was falling apart around me, he held me in his arms and assured me, I will never let you fall. I love the words of C.S. Lewis. Most people, if they had really learned to look into their hearts, would know that they do want, and want acutely, something that cannot be had in this world. There are things in this world that offer to give it to you, but they never quite keep their promise. If you were to ask me how hope applies to me, I would tell you that it is one of the most descriptive words that can be associated with my story. Jesus was and is my knight in shining armor, and I am now happier than I have ever been. So in the words of Paul in 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18, so we do not lose heart. Even though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all measure. Because we will look at what not can be seen, but what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal. So if you ever hit your rock bottom, your depths of despair, or think that there's no forgiveness for you, remember that God is hope, he is mercy, and he is redemption, and you are never too far gone to be held in the arms of Christ. Thank you.